We're going to look at my 3 tips for building better decks. Hello, this is Joe from Nerd in Korea. We are going to talk about the 3 tips. They're very simple. I'm going to go over them very quickly first, and then the rest of the video is going to go more in depth. Alright, so the first one, choose the theme, not the commander first. Maybe. And then number 2, select every card for a reason. Very important one. Number 3, break up your deck building process into 3 steps. And I will go over this in much more detail right after this. Anyway, please hit like and subscribe. Number 1, do not choose the commander first, choose the theme first. A lot of times you build a deck because you want to build this particular commander. That's fine, you know what? But why do you want to build that commander? If you know why you're wanting to build that particular commander, you're going to have your theme right there. Probably a lot of your sub-themes already figured out as well. And that's the main thing to do, is figure out your theme and sub-themes before you try to get too far into the deck building process. Otherwise, you're just going to have things that don't fit together and keep contradicting each other. And the whole thing will just fall apart, okay? Again, if you have chosen a commander to build for a specific reason, you have chosen that theme already, right? You've chosen the theme by choosing the commander. Is a way to look at it. So yeah, this will allow you to do one of the most important parts in making an effective deck, identifying keywords and mechanics. So this is kind of why you do the theme first, is that you can get your keywords and mechanics figured out. That will make the rest of the deck building process much easier, and searching for cards as well much easier. Keep in mind what the color identity is, or the color combination. This can make a very big difference. You need to know, what is this color combination good at doing? Even if that's not what you're doing, that's okay. If you're doing something like the Architect recently had a contest to do an off color deck build thing, and there was an Is It Landfall one. I really thought that was an interesting deck, but you can only build that keeping in mind that Is It is usually not good at landfall or ramping kind of thing. So yeah, very much breaking the mold, which is a fun thing to do, but if you walk into it being like, oh, I don't know what it's good at or not good at, you're not really doing that. So yeah, know your color identity. I guess that's kind of another one, but throwing in staples is always a good idea, but I've seen decks made by new players relying too much on staples. It isn't the worst way to build a deck, like throwing a whole bunch of staples in, but it doesn't really get the job done. A lot of times you end up with something that is very flexible and good, but not something that really works together. It doesn't really have the synergy. So yeah. Think about why you want to choose the staple or not. I think your first version, throwing a bunch of staples in and then upgrading the staples to better choices, or I don't know if I'd even say better choices, but things that fit better into your deck. For instance, Arcane Signet is a great example. It is 2 mana for a mana rock that will produce 1 of any color mana. Great card, right? Okay, in a colorless deck though, that's garbage. That doesn't make any sense. So right there, that moves the goalpost quite a bit. Also, I would say in a 4 or 5 color deck, there are much better options than Arcane Signet. Chromatic Lantern, that is a card that does cost 3. A lot of people get very upset about mana rocks costing 3, but calm down, because this lets any land tap for any color of mana. That means your mana fixing is done. Mana fixing is a huge problem in those 4 and 5 color decks, and you've just, with one artifact, taken it all out. All sorted already. That's huge. Throw in something like Silver Key, and you can go tutor that out easily, and you're set for the game, right? All your problems sorted with 1 mana rock. But yeah, again, in that example, you don't really have to say is one or the other. You can put Arcane Signet and Chromatic Lantern into the deck. That's probably even better, right? So when is the right time to use the staple or use an alternative is what you really need to ask yourself. Choose every card for a purpose. My second point, Every card needs to do something in the deck. So there are two major ways to look at cards in a deck. That's synergy and gap fill. So how does it work with the commander? How does it work in the deck? And how does it make up for something that's lacking in the deck? That's really what every single card should do. One of those two things. For gap fill, I look at the major issues every deck can suffer from. There are three major considerations. The first two, I think, are the most important. That is ramping / fixing, getting those lands down, getting the colors you need, and card draw. Straight up just card draw. If you don't have those, your deck is going to grind to a halt pretty quickly. And the final consideration is removal, which we can break down even further into target removal and board wipes, which really don't do the same thing. Target removal is going to be like taking care of those issues, like especially I think of a lot of the enchantments or artifacts that can cause problems. You need to get those off the battlefield. Board wipes are very different. They're not about like dealing with one specific problem. It's like one player's getting way ahead and it's a reset button for the whole game. Ideally, you can find a board wipe that's like a one-sided board wipe that doesn't hurt you but hurts everyone else quite a bit. But even if it hurts you and everyone else, it's still better than that one player just taking away or running away with the whole game. Finally, number 3, break up your deck building process into 3 steps. And I'm going to tell you what those 3 steps are right now. This is, again, so you have clear objectives at each step of what you want to do when you're building that deck. You only need 4 resources, so I recommend using these 3 websites and a basic word processor. Any word processor really doesn't matter. So EDH Rec, Moxfield or Architect, whatever you like, and Scryfall. I mean, using these to people who build decks is probably like really obvious, but still, using them correctly is what I want to talk about in my next video. The first thing I do is go to EDH Rec and copy and paste the basic deck balance information. You look at, like, it shows you the little chart with how many creatures, how many lands, how many... You don't want to follow this exactly. This is a guideline. Especially, I find a lot of things on EDH Rec, their suggested lands are way too low. Never cut lands. Your deck doesn't work without lands. I think a lot of newer players think, oh, I can just take the lands out and just put this other like flashy stuff in. It's like, okay, well, if you don't have lands, then none of it works. So your flashy stuff isn't going to work. But yeah. Anyway, the 3 steps. First, your rough draft, okay? This is getting the fundamentals. Mostly I look at EDH Rec and use your word processor. Just make your list, okay? Have your go-to cards that you might want to use for the colors in general, and then yeah, EDH Rec, and just like get your basic fundamentals. This is about getting the fundamentals sorted. You don't have to worry about like having a perfect deck laid out or anything like that. This is again the rough draft. Also, you don't need all 100 cards in the beginning. What you want is like your basic setup to have, just so you know where your starting point is, right? Step 2, what you're going to do is you're going to take that list that you made. You can go to bulk add, at least on Moxfield it's called bulk add, and then you can just add them all at once, which makes it much easier. And yeah, then you're going to be able to look at what you've done so far and fill in any gaps, and also look for synergy. Again, synergy gap fill, always. Synergy gap fill is the kind of the next step. We thought about this as step 1, but step 1 is really more about like getting your fundamentals. Now we're really focusing on like tightening up the mechanics in the deck. And step 3, your final draft, troubleshooting and planning. So troubleshooting, what do you think your deck needs more of? Probably the first thing to look at is like removal, card draw, things like that. Your 3 fundamental things. And next up is planning. Very, very important. Knowing how to pilot your deck is very important. So yeah, looking for combos. This doesn't mean infinite combos necessarily. It can, but just ways to make your deck work better, more efficiently. those combos are very big. So yeah, adding more problem solvers as well. So what kind of cards can solve potential problems that you might have? Again, a lot of times that means more card draw, more removal, more ramping or fixing or things like that, but it can be just about anything your deck needs. So step 1, primarily using EDH Rec and your own cards, your go-to cards, you should have at least a few of those. Make a rough draft in a word processor. We're not looking to build the whole deck. Just get the fundamental cards, get like your kind of core of your deck sorted out, and your mana base, I think, is the main thing. And then you can build the rest off in the, fine-tuning in the website is going to be much easier. So this should be the majority of your deck. You don't need to do all 100 cards, but I would put in at least like probably 60 to 70 cards. So make note of any mechanics or keywords that are useful in the deck. This is really where you start to like get the kind of shape of the deck. So once you have those key pieces chosen, use bulk edit to copy and paste it in, as I said, and then you can just have your everything that you made, and you've got your like really solid fundamental deck built already. And yeah, everything you do after that is like making improvements or tightening things up. Step 2, this is where Scryfall becomes very important. So you go to Scryfall and then advanced search. It'll let you go to your commander's color identity, select that, and select your keywords, right? Put in your keyword. Also, if you want to do a budget deck, you can set a budget for it. So that is one thing we're going to do, definitely, when I make mine, or my sample one, I mean. So this list is going to be huge in most cases. It is worth your time to read through them. But if you're in a hurry, look for cards with too much text. So that is one thing I always do. I think cards with a lot of text go down in value. Even really good cards that frankly have too much text seem to like knock them down quite a bit in value, which makes sense. Like in a commander deck, you've got 100 cards. So if there's like just a pile of text on this one card, you're not going to be able to remember everything in like the grand scheme of the whole deck, right? So I think it kind of makes sense. Finally, step 3. Hopefully you have the vast majority of your deck sorted by this point. Again, you've used Scryfall to kind of like tighten it up, have more suggestions, but yeah. Step 3. So hopefully you have the vast majority of your deck sorted out by now. You should have not only the fundamentals, but a whole bunch you've added from Scryfall. And then yeah. Now it is time to remove anything that isn't synergistic enough and add more things to make your deck shine. So this is really like the fine polish part. This is where you take a step back and look at how to pilot the deck. So making a plan is very important. Remember, the plan should have 3 phases. I have this in each one of my budget deck texts. So phase 1, ramping, fixing. Every single time, ramping, fixing, always phase 1. Phase 2, the main plan, implementing your like deck themes and things like that. Phase 3, your win cons / finishers, right? How do you win the game? How do you end it? So your end game plan, and that you can have more than like these 3 steps. A lot of times, especially step 2, I'll have like maybe 2 things where there's more than one theme going on, maybe, or there's like one theme that's very synergistic for another theme. So you implement both of them. A lot of kindred decks will have like you're doing your kindred thing and your kind of like other theme going on. So yeah, there's a lot of ways where you can do both of them, but it doesn't have to be like limited to only one little thing you're doing. But yeah, your main plan should be like a cohesive idea is the main thing, and it leads to your finisher is the other important part. So I would try to plan the game according to these 3 phases. Yeah, if your game plan is a lot more complicated, it will probably not work most of the time, right? If you try to do something that's really complicated, maybe it's a very good plan, but implementing it might be impossible. So you should look for where there is potential combos, and I do not mean infinite combos. Any combo is good, alright? The key is to piloting your deck is knowing how to get to your end game. That's really what it's all about. Like, what do you do in early game, mid game, late game? How do you win? That's what you need to do. In the next video, I'm going to implement these ideas and these suggestions into actually building a deck. I'm going to build the Abzan deck. This is my last for the color challenge. I've been doing the color challenge between my deck reviews, called Deck Check-In, and my budget decks, which is deep dive decks. So we're going to make a whole one, and you're going to see how I do it from beginning to end. This is actually a really big part, finishing up the color challenge. I can't believe I'm actually doing it. Pretty exciting stuff. So please look forward to that, and yeah, keep an eye out. Also, take it easy.